Hello, in this video we're going to have a look at some basic Mac security. When I say Mac security, I mean Mac address security for the switches, not Mac as in a Macintosh, because we don't like them. So what we're going to do, let's have a look here, is we're going to introduce Mac limiting. Basically what we're going to have here is on JNCIA 004, we're going to limit the amount of Mac addresses that it's able to accept. So what we want to this device here to be able to communicate with the rest of the network, but this bad naughty PC that someone's brought in from home and is connected to our LAN, we don't want that to be able to connect anywhere. We want all the packets to actually be dropped. So it's a relatively straightforward configuration to have this done. A couple of things to bear in mind is that if you're running a voice VLAN as well as an actual data VLAN on a particular port, when you put your limit of how many MAC addresses you want, you'll need to put that as 2, otherwise it's going to drop whichever the second type of data that goes through is. So if the switch goes through, the phone goes through first, that'd be fine, but it would block the data traffic and you don't want that. So you need to make sure that when you set the amount of MAC addresses, make sure you set that to 2. Otherwise you can set it to say just 1 or as many as you want. To be fair, I'm going to set mine to 2 because I want to ensure that Giga Ethernet 00 on the LAN switch is not blocked, because that will of course block actually, am I going to set it to 2? No, I'm going to set it to 1 actually. Yeah, because that MAC address shouldn't actually be transferred through. Well, let's have a look. Let's jump onto the command line and see how we can achieve this. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go onto the interface. Let me have a double check. So it's XE004, which is the interface that we're going to use, and we're going to go here. Let's do edit interface XE0/0/4. Actually, let's also do it edit unit 0. Okay, that's great. So what we're going to do, we're going to use the accept source MAC command. So set ACC EP accept source MAC. If you do a question mark, it's asking you for the MAC address. So you type MAC address. Now we put in what MAC address is that we're going to accept on this actual interface itself. So let's have a look. I'm going to go 00 50, oops, not question mark, 79 66 68 2A, I believe. 2A, that's my first one. And my second one, I'm just going to make sure the switch is on there as well. So it's 50, 8A, 90, 00, 30, 00. Sweet. Okay, you may think I'm really good because I memorize this. I've not. I've got the MAC addresses on a little notepad there just so I could remember them. In fact, I could have just copied and pasted them in, to be fair. So yeah, I'm not that good at all, to be honest. All right, let's exit out of this. Okay, so we've told our interface what MAC addresses it's allowed to have. What we need to do now is go into the switch options and enable the MAC limit. So let's do edit switch options. Okay, excellent. And what we need to set this again for the actual interface. So set interface XE 0/0/4.0, and we do a question mark. We're going to go to interface MAC limit. So interface MAC limit, do a question mark, and how many it asks us for us to limit, you know, the maximum number. Let's just put 1. And now we need to put the packet action. It'll fail if you don't put a packet action in there. So packet action, and we've got a couple of options here. We can either drop the packet, which does it literally silently drop it. It won't record anything about it. We can drop and log, which will only mean that it will still drop the packets, but it will log it in the messages. We can log it only in messages and do nothing with it. We can actually do nothing at all and forward it, or we can get the interface to shut down. So let's do a packet action of drop and log, and let's do a top, and let's do a show pipe compare. So we see now once we commit this on our XE004 interface, we're adding the MAC address of PC3. I've added the MAC address of the switch, but that shouldn't make any difference. Under the actual switch options, under the XE004, we've set a interface MAC limit of 1, and we've told it to drop the packets and to log them in the messages. So let's commit that. Fantastic. Once it comes up, I should have done a commit check, but no worries. Okay, so let's go on to PC3. As you see, I've been doing some pings and playing around. So let's do a ping. Alright, so PC3 is pinging fine. Sweet. Let's jump onto our bad PC and see what happens with this one now. Ping 10.10.10.1. Okay, apparently it's not reachable. Fantastic. Let's have a look on the actual switch itself and see if it logged anything for that. So run show log messages, scroll down, come on, let's go. There's a lot of messages here. What's the time? It's 6:24 in the morning. There we go. 6:23, we have a message there saying the MAC limit was reached for the MAC address, on XE004. The current, because the current count is only 1. I'm sure it gave us actually the MAC address as well. Maybe it doesn't give us the actual MAC address. Okay, no biggie, that's absolutely fine. But as we can see, we managed to terminate that connection from going. Okay, let's have a look at the actual switching interface and see what's going on with that. So run show Ethernet switching interface, and it's going to be XE0/0/. Okay, see, now we can see that we have our MAC limit of 1 is on here, and we can also see under the logical interface flags we have our LH flag, which is our MAC limit hit, because we've already hit the MAC limit. Okay, so what we can try changing the what it actually does, and maybe see if we can get it to maybe shut down the interface. But before we do that, what we'll do, we jump onto the actual interface and put on its recovery time. So let's do a set interface XE/4 unit 0, and we should have our recovery time option here. QR. Oh, there is no recovery time. I thought there would be a recovery time on there. Or maybe it's not under the actual unit. Double check that. QR. Okay, so I thought the recovery time was actually there, but it doesn't look like it is. Possible it needs to, it only comes up once we've configured the shutdown. So let's configure the shutdown in the switch first and see whether or not that option for auto recovery comes back up. So let's do edit switch options and let's do a show. Okay, so let's do set interface XE0/0/4.0. Sometimes that doesn't work when you do the tab or space. Let's try again. XE0/0/4.0, and its interface MAC limit 1, packet action, and let's do shutdown and see if this is exclusive with the drop and log. Okay, let's do a commit. Okay, sweet. Let's have a look at the interface now, see if we can put the recovery timeout on here. The set interface XE0/ done the same thing, XE0/4 0/0/4.0. And do we have the recovery? Let's try under let's try under the family Ethernet switching. Do you know what? That was probably what the problem was. Come think about it. Actually, am I still under the? Yeah, I'm still under the switch options. It's XE4 unit 0 family Ethernet switching, and we have it on here. Recovery. Oh, we have recovery timeout. Sweet. Set that to 30 seconds. All right, let's commit that. All right. That will explain why I didn't see it the first time. I forgot it was under the actual Ethernet switching hierarchy. So let's do a ping on PC1, okay, or PC3 rather. And now that's gone through. Let's go on to our bad PC and see what happens. Okay, nothing, so it's not reachable. Let's have a look at our log now and see if anything's happened here. So let's do run show log messages, scroll down to the bottom and see there's a few there. Let's have a look, scroll up a little bit. 31. Okay, well, it's not told us so far that it's done anything. Let's have a look at the interface. So run show interface XE 0/0/4. Okay, so let's have a look here. So it doesn't look like it's actually shut the interface down. However, I still can't ping from the bad PC. Yeah, bad PC won't ping. So it's quite possible that this is just a virtualization issue, as we've come across many times in this series and in the previous series. You do get some virtualization problems. Let's have a look at the run show Ethernet switching interface XE 0/0/4. Now what's it set to here? Okay, surprisingly it's still set to the interface flags as Mac limit is hit and action has dropped, where we've actually set the action as shut down, so it just hasn't accepted that at all, which is a bit weird. But let's pretend for a moment that it did. What we would do is that if we didn't have the recovery timeout option set, what that would do is, well, if we did have it set, which we have, it would automatically recover the actual interface with within the timer that we've set. If we didn't have it set though, then it would have shut the interface down, and we would actually then have to run the command clear Ethernet switching recovery timeout. So run clear Ethernet switching recovery timeout. So if we do this command, that would then bring the interface back up if it was shut down because of the Mac limiting. Fantastic. If we jump back under the switch options, we can also add persistent learning, which is basically sticky Mac. As sticky Mac works is whichever MAC addresses are currently in the MAC address table now for the interface we set it on, if the device is rebooted or it loses power, it will retain those MAC addresses. So if, for argument's sake, like now the bad PC can't communicate because we have a MAC limit of 1 on there, what will happen is that if we put persistent MAC on, it will turn around and say, well, PC3 is the MAC address that we're going to remember. And if we reboot the machine because, you know, the bad PC really wants to get on, they still won't be able to get in because the persistent MAC will be there. We would do that under again the switching options. So let's do edit switch options, and we do again set interface XE. Please do the same thing again. XE 0/0/4.0, and if you do a question mark, you see we have the persistent learning there. So if we put the persistent learning on, it will take whatever MAC address is on this interface at the moment, what's been learned, on the MAC address table, and it will keep that there. So even again, if power's lost, it will come back with that MAC address, so the bad PC won't be able to get on. I'm not going to put that on there because I might have to start rebooting these virtual machines, and they take a while. But this is how you would do it. So persistent learning, and question mark, you just press enter. There you go, job's done. Last thing we're going to have a look at is the Mac move limiting. So this is another nice feature. As we know, if we have someone moving from one port to another port, and they keep doing this, we want that to be able to be stopped. This could indicate something like maybe a flapping machine, or could be a little minor broadcast storm. So let's have a little look, see how we do this. So this is done under the VLAN configuration. So let's do edit VLAN 1, and if we do set, do a question mark here, you see we have the switch options. So let's do set switch options and do another question mark. Now we have our Mac move limit. This is the, as it says here, the number of Mac movements allowed on the VLAN itself. Let's do a Mac move limit. So we can do our packet action, and we have the same options as we had before: drop, and log. Let's do drop, do another question mark, and now we can tell us what interface we want it to be on, or we can just enter this, and this will do it for the entire VLAN. So we just do an enter and then commit that. Oh, mandatory statements. Oh, I forgot the limit. Okay, so let's do the limit, how many we're allowed to do. Let's put 10. Now let's see if we can commit that. Let's do a commit check actually. Sweet. So there we go. So that's how we add in our Mac move limit. So we use the set switch options, Mac move, we need to put the limit in, but then we can put the what we want to do, whether we want to drop it, whether we want to log and drop, or whether we want to shut down the interface. And you can actually, if you don't put a specific interface in there, then it will do the whole, everything, all the interfaces that are in the VLAN, or you can just do it as a specific interface. There you go. I hope you've enjoyed this set of videos for a little bit of Mac security. I look forward to seeing you in the next video.